I don't think they tell lies about China's COVID emergency, but I do think they expand the truth in some cases. I will give you my personal experience. Way back in 1990, I was working in Casablanca in Morocco in the Sheraton Hotel, an American chained hotel. And then you had the first Gulf War. We did have military personnel around the hotel, and we were advised, all the foreigners working in the hotel, which was Lotte Pell, the food and beverage manager, Adriano Severi, who was the general manager, a bar manager from Belgium, can't remember his name, and myself. We were the foreigners there. Don't go outside the hotel. Lotte Pell did actually have a gun, and he said if there's any trouble we can scoot off to basically Tenerife. But within 2 weeks I had Moroccan friends and I could walk outside and I had no problem at all. And I think that was the Western media exaggerating that Morocco was kind of a dangerous place. Apart from the bar manager going, "Viva Saddam Hussein!" That was the only person. But when Kuwait got back to normal, he said, "Oh, I like whoever the president was at the time in 1990. So, related to lies, this is one from Radio Geneva. They're saying, European journalists and scientists say that in China, everyone is dead and a few survivors are locked up at home, fear of new COVID variant. Meanwhile, last night in Wuhan." Okay, now I do spend a lot of attention related to that. I've never seen that piece of news on any Western media. So Radio Geneva, who is basically lying there. And yeah, in Wuhan on New Year's Eve, they did celebrate like this. There is another guy saying, Wuhan hospital in China, no worries, no dead anywhere, media and government lying to push COVID more restrictions. And he posted a video like this. Now, the first image that we showed of the celebrations in Wuhan, can verify that. That makes a lot of sense. This one, the second one, I can't verify the hospital, and it feels like, and don't quote me on this, it feels like I've seen this image before somewhere, not too sure. But if we go to a hospital in Shanghai, this is not from Western media, this is from a netizen in China. I repeat, a netizen in China put this on Weibo, has a virtual private network, and popped it onto Twitter. And they have images like that. No drama, no worries? Well, I'll let you decide. What is the response on the Chinese state media like CCTV, New China Television, for example, all controlled by the government, saying that they are producing more medicines, which is a good thing? Because a lot of people would say there wasn't a rush to go out and buy medicine for the future in case they get a cold or flu or a COVID variant of that. So this is the response back by the Chinese state media. Now, I apologize for the sound copy, basically, or the sound quality. Basically, it is just a copy and paste from Twitter.
Pharmaceutical enterprises in Beijing are working at full capacity to ensure the supply of medicine amid surging demand.
我们是用自动化的检测设备来确保质量，不合格的那不可能留到下面去，那就是每一盒都会扫描照相，这个药几点生产的，谁生产的，然后谁去装的箱等等一切信息都会有。
Meanwhile, Beijing Municipal Medical Products Administration has also taken measures to help speed up the flow of medical products.
我们驻厂员呢，也是在白天对企业的生产质量运行情况进行监督检查，夜里呢也是会协调，帮助企业联系相应的药品批发企业，还有一些物流公司，尽全力的保证将企业当日放行的所有产品全部进行发用。
And life does return back to normal. They are saying that there are a high number of people who have COVID. They are not reporting the true amount of deaths again. That's sort of like the transparency or the non-transparency of China. They did it with the first COVID outbreak in 2020. It just doesn't make sense. There's no logical sense to it at all. It's like a miracle which happens. You watch many people on YouTube who live in China and they will say they have had COVID. I know enough everyone I speak to in China, in Shanghai, Shenzhen, even Beijing, yep, they have had COVID for 1 or 2 days. They've had a fever, they've had a cough, they've had a sore throat, and within 1 or 2 days they're better. These people mostly have been vaccinated, but some haven't, and that's the situation which goes on. So let's show you some images of what life is like in Shanghai and Beijing, near enough as of yesterday.
There were signs that mainland China's biggest cities were edging closer to living with COVID-19 on Monday, with packed morning subway trains in Beijing and Shanghai. People mostly stayed home in the weeks after China scrapped its ruthless zero COVID restrictions as they tried to avoid the disease or dealt with an infection. China is the last major country to move towards treating COVID as endemic. Now the virus is infecting millions there, left largely unchecked across the country, while residents have returned to commuting to work. I am prepared to live with the pandemic. After all, lockdowns are not a long-term solution, 25-year-old Lin Jixin told Reuters. Shanghai's streets in particular, even with just a handful of cars on the road, were a sharp contrast to April and May. That's when the city endured a strict and bitter lockdown, and hardly anyone went outside. China had reported no new COVID deaths for the 6 days through Sunday. However, health experts and residents worry that China's statistics do not reflect the actual number of fatalities. The country has narrowed its definition for classifying deaths as COVID-related, counting only those involving COVID-caused pneumonia or respiratory failure. And the country's health system has been under enormous strain. Healthcare staff have been asked to work while sick, and retired medical workers have been rehired to help, according to state media. Analysts say the economy, the second biggest in the world, is expected to suffer further in the short term after zero COVID slowed.
So basically just adopting a new policy. COVID does exist. They say the pandemic in April will go down to an epidemic, which is good news according to the World Health Organization. That's another story. Let's not go there. And the restrictions for Chinese people to go into different countries we have covered before. They can travel, but they got to have a test before they leave China. I think that's mandatory, and they got to show that at the airport in Paris or New York or London, etc. I think that not many people are actually Chinese are not going to travel at the moment overseas. They do have the Chinese New Year coming up, and that's going to be more domestic travel. Let's see what happens with the caseload with that. Now, hopefully it's just going to stay stable or it's going to go down, etc., etc. We don't know that bit. That's only time will tell. International travel with Chinese, I think from Monday they're allowed to come here. I think, don't quote me on this, and they don't need the check. They can just come in like you can come into this country. So are the people worried here a little bit? Possibly, because it is international news. But Western media, going back to the title, well, how to say, they report, they sometimes exaggerate. But a lot of these Western news companies, apart from BBC, are privately owned. They do this as a business. So it's another story. Let's not go in there. Now, I'm going to leave you with some happier items or some more funny items in China. Firstly, don't drink Budweiser. Secondly, make sure you always put your handbrake on. My name is James. Thank you so much for your time. Please do like, subscribe and share. And if you want to support financially, click the join button, click the super thanks button, and you have the Patreon account there as well. Be good, be well, be safe. Bye-bye.